What's going on, everybody? It's the Hook Cam back again with some more content. Today's going to be a little bit different than what we usually do. I was sitting there thinking the other day of, this Chiefs offense that is here today. And, I myself am a Patriots fan, but I like to leave my fandom at the door when I start to look through a lot of game film and when you really start to admire just the coaching decisions that go on in the NFL. And I really wanted to dive into the Chiefs history books over the recent years and really see where this team started to turn from kind of that pound the rock heavy on the defense football team that we saw in 2013, 2014, and where did we really see this team start to take on that role of really groundbreaking, not necessarily passing concepts, but groundbreaking records, right? They're crushing every record in the books, and they're really just a well-oiled machine on offense. And I really wanted to dive in and see kind of what were the key turning points and who were the key factors in making this happen. So before I dive into all of that, I would like to say if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to my channel as well as to Jackson Kruger Sports. That would mean the world to both of us. We're pumping out content left and right, and I know we're putting in a ton of work, and we appreciate all the support we get, first and foremost. Definitely that needs to be said. So with all that being laid out, let's dive into this thing. I like to take a look at this and start at 2013, and this is when Andy Reid got hired by the Kansas City Chiefs. And obviously football was much different back then. It's very clear when watching Kansas City Chiefs games that their game plan was entirely different. It was very reliant on Jamal Charles being able to run the rock and really trying to force teams into almost a field position game. They weren't going to blow the doors off anybody. However, in 2013, one major factor was drafted, and that's Travis Kelce. During that season with Travis Kelce, he didn't have an outstanding rookie year. I think he maybe had 5 catches. But when you start to look at some of the formations that they ran, I think that they were starting to dabble a little bit with really putting teams in a bind. And to me, this Kansas City Chiefs team today is really good when they go 3-by-1, they go bunch, they clump up defenses, and then try and use their speed on outbreaking routes or double moves to catch corners sleeping or to catch corners trying to come down on an out. And in this situation today in the Chiefs offense, this is a guy like Tyreek Hill, and he's going to run this speed out at the sticks. He's going to get that first down, and there's really not going to be a whole lot that teams can do about that. But back then, obviously, the Chiefs didn't have the speed that they do today. However, in 2014, I really think that that's when having Travis Kelce really started to open things up for the Kansas City Chiefs. This I just put in a clip of one of their screens to Sherman. That dude works his ass off, and I think he deserves a little bit of shine, so I want to throw this in there. However, in the next couple clips, we're going to see a play against the Raiders where we see how Travis Kelce really opens up that intermediate game. And I think that he was kind of one of the major pieces to fall for the Chiefs. And all he's going to do right here is run kind of that big out. And again, it's not that there's nobody else in the league who can do this. I just think that Travis Kelce does it and does a really good job of knowing when to sink a little bit deeper into zone, knowing when to shut down his route, knowing when to, go up and contest a ball or push zones or push off of guys. I think that he's very good at that. I think he's one of the better receiving tight ends in the NFL. He's not exactly going to bulldoze you blocking, but he is going to do everything that any coach will ever ask of a tight end in the NFL when it comes to catching a football. In this situation, there's playing the Broncos. Broncos are going to roll into a Tampa 2, very common when you look at teams inside the red zone. This backer is supposed to wall off number 3, who just works upfield right in between these two safeties. And this is actually Anthony Fasano. This is Travis Kelce. And we see obviously there's some definite differences in personnel when you look at the 2014 Kansas City Chiefs, but there are some similarities to what they did in 2014 and to what happens today. Here's another example of them, again, working that play action game and just kind of what Travis Kelce brings to the table, right? He's running this deep crosser at about 22 yards. That's where a lot of those crossing routes hit in the NFL. Tough to get those going in college. I know that from experience, but in the NFL, 22 yards for a guy like Travis Kelce, he's going to be able to do that every time. And then again, like I said before, where I think the Chiefs really hit their sweet spot when we're putting teams in a bind in 3-by-1, do a good job of, bringing Kelce in on a motion here, working him upfield. And again, he does such a good job of this. And I know I'm kind of repeating myself when I say it, but to me, he's one of the first major pieces that the Chiefs drafted, really just, working in the middle of the field. He's kind of that check down, or was that check down option for Alex Smith that helped him in tight situations. And again, he did help a ton in the intermediate game as well, but he just really became that staple to me in that Chiefs offense that I hadn't seen before. And then we move on to 2015. And 2015 is such a pivotal year, I think, for Kansas City, because they start off the season 1-5, and then they go into this game, 1-4, and then they go up to this game against Minnesota. And they lose this game as well, and they drop to 1-5 on the season. And to me, the key in this game was going 3 for 12 on third down. And anytime you have a percentage like that, it's a little bit below 30%, I think. I'm not a great math guy. But anytime you have a percentage like that, the next day is just not fun. When you're in the film room, you just look at every mistake you made on those big downs, and you can see the Chiefs. I think that, when you look at what they're running, they're slowly molding themselves into what we see today. We'll see a couple of double moves at a guy like Chris Conley. Right, here's Kelce again working in that intermediate zone. Obviously, one of their better third downs, and to me, I just think that when they started to really put Kelce in situations to win, that's when they started to get going. However, it didn't really happen in that Minnesota game. Then they move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and yeah, the Steelers were down Ben Roethlisberger in this game, but this is when I really started to see similarities between what the Chiefs did in 2015 and really what was going on today. This formation is run by the Chiefs every single Sunday that we watch them play, right? They've got, in this situation, just 11 personnel, but they'll have Kelce, then they'll have another tight end on the roster down here, and they do so much from this, but the main thing that they'll do is a quick little run action, max protect here, and then they'll stretch guys deep downfield. But we got to remember, in 2015, the Chiefs didn't have a Tyreek Hill, a McCole Hardman, and Sammy Watkins. They didn't have those guys to really stress defenses. In this situation, you can see, again, you got to work with what you got coaching-wise, and they just run this big out right here. Good route, nothing wrong with it, but again, it's not the game-breaker speed that a guy like Tyreek Hill had. And then once again, we see them go into this 3-by-1 formation. Travis Kelce's this number 3 receiver, just working on a backer, quick little juke or option route right there, works back outside to that, works away from that backer's inside presence back to the outside. And again, we just kind of start to see things really starting to mold with this Chiefs offense into what we see today. And the Chiefs end up in that season going 11-5. I believe they made the playoffs, but I think that game against the Vikings, you look at this team that was 1-5, they're doing soul searching. Where can we be better? I think that's when they really started to say, hey, let's try and create space for a guy like Travis Kelce. Let's try and use speed to our advantage when we're doing our run action stuff instead of just dinking and dunking down the field. If we can put safeties and binds, let's do that. But they needed another piece, though, because the speed wasn't all there, and that piece to me came in 2016 with a guy like Tyreek Hill, who I believe is this number 3 right here, if I'm not mistaken. But another thing I want to bring up with this clip is look at who's at the bottom, Travis Kelce. And I think that the Chiefs, obviously as a player goes through his career, he's going to get more and more comfortable with with what his responsibilities are, right? Well, the coaches are going to do the exact same thing, and that's what we see right here with Kelce, who's lined up on the bottom, and they do the stuff with Mahomes all the time, right? This is kind of a staple for the Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce one-on-one down here, such a big body, so good off the line. It's weird because he doesn't look like he's just blowing by you. He doesn't look super fast with his motions, but when you look at it on the field, the dude's flying, right? And again, we see something like this with Tyreek Hill, who to me is that second piece that the Chiefs added. That's that speed, that factor that you can really put guys in a bind, and you can manipulate them. And with right here, Tyreek Hill motioning out from that inside, from the number 1 spot back into kind of that bunch formation, like I said, the Chiefs love to go in, and then he's just going to run that speed out, and you can see the difference between when a guy like Tyreek Hill runs it and when other guys run it. And he does such a good job of stemming that thing upfield, even when defensive backs are playing off, and then breaking that thing to the sideline and picking up that first down. Obviously here he didn't get the first down, but just an example of stuff that they like to run. Now in 2017, to me, this is kind of like that last domino to fall, but it really hadn't fallen yet. It's Patrick Mahomes. He's really not, obviously he's not getting any play time in 2017 except for the last game. But again, the fact that he was able to sit and learn from a guy like Alex Smith, a salty vet and a dude who's been around the league. I mean, Alex Smith had, I believe, 3 or 4 different offensive coordinators during his first 5 years in San Francisco. I mean, the guy has to have so much football knowledge at this point. It's bound to be beneficial for a guy like Patrick Mahomes. And so we see this game against the New England Patriots, and again, I don't really think that the cheetah, as we like to call him, I don't really think that he had been, brought to light in the NFL, even though he had a fantastic rookie year. But we'll see stuff like this that the Chiefs really start getting comfortable running, and that's their double moves. I think that Kansas City, the way they utilize their double moves is probably the best in the NFL, and it's because they have the speed to do it. Double moves take time. Right? Double moves take a lot of time. They take a lot of trust. You have to believe that your O-line is going to be able to hold on to that protection for enough time, because if you get pressure when your guys are running double moves, you got to hit the check down, and it doesn't even make sense. He's going to be out the next play because he's gassed because he just ran his balls off on a double move, right? But in this situation, we're working out and up right here, and you can see this is where I think the trust starts to get developed. Tyreek Hill's out here burning the New England Patriots, coming off of this banner night for the Pats. And again, I vividly remember this game and the Chiefs just blowing the doors off the Patriots. And yes, Pat Mahomes, I do kind of want to go back to those three pieces I was talking about with Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Pat Mahomes. But I think the other piece was Kareem Hunt. And as much as he's not involved in the picture anymore, I think that there really was, for Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, that idea of, hey, let's get the back involved in our passing game. Because you look at obviously 2013-14, and a lot of it, the back, hey man, he's just going to be the bell cow. He's going to run the rock. But really, I think there was a transformation in 2017 where they really started to use the running back in the passing game, and whether it was on checkdowns, but the biggest way that I see the Chiefs use the back, even in today's standards, is with a wheel. Really, anytime they can get that defense into play, and man, they're going to try and hit that wheel almost every time, because they know that running back's going to be matched up with a linebacker. And sometimes defenses will do stuff like New England's doing right here, where the end, or the edge defender, as people like to call him now, he's going to be matched up with the back. And I remember in the Falcons game, Tevin Coleman came across the formation and Rob Ninkovich had to chase him, and there's not a chance that an end is ever going to be able to keep up with the back, especially a guy like Tevin Coleman, or in this case Kareem Hunt. But again, using that back and having the advantages of, or having the idea of, hey, let's get this back out in space. Let's get him involved in our passing game besides just being that sixth man to protect. When they started doing things like that, I think that really everything started to come together, and we could really see that mesh. And they start to bring the element of speed with a guy like Tyreek Hill being able to stretch the field. A guy like Travis Kelce, who's going to be great at that intermediate game, great at stemming his routes at the top of it. Boom, right here at the top of his routes, stemming this thing to the outside, making it look like it's going to be, a little speed out, and then cutting this thing back upfield for a post almost. Stuff like that's really, really key. And then Kelce being able to go up there and get the rock. And then, of course, you go to 2018 with the emergence of Patrick Mahomes, and really what we see today with this Chiefs offense, which is basically whatever you want to do, you're going to be able to go do it. But really, when it comes to the passing game, to me, the thing that I see from this Chiefs offense game in and game out is just stressing safeties, really stressing safeties, not only vertically, right, upfield, but again, horizontally. The Steelers are on a cover one in this situation. There's not a chance this dude's going to be able to come across and get any move on this ball to the number 2 guy. But again, what they do with this, and it kind of ties into what I was saying with Kareem Hunt, they go empty in this situation, and I believe that's Damian Williams at the bottom of the screen, right? And he's going to keep this flat defender who's the corner, he's going to keep him staying pat. They are trying to manipulate that defense and really utilize the back to their advantage. And I'm not just saying that it's Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill that make this team. I just think that those were the three pieces that they really began to mold everything else to. Okay, now let's bring on a McCole Hardman. We can get even more speed with this. Let's bring on a more physical guy like Sammy Watkins, who's still fast as hell. I think that really kind of molded everything together, and you have a very athletic back like Kareem Hunt, who can really catch the rock out of the backfield, make a lot happen in the open space. And then obviously a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, who in my opinion is probably the most talented passer we've ever seen in football. And yeah, Rodgers is up there, sure, but the stuff that we see Pat Mahomes do game in and game out is unreal. Now, as far as what the next step for this Chiefs offense is going to be, to be honest, sky's the limit. Really, the only thing that I see that's crazy different from what they've been doing, again, a lot of double moves. This is a 2nd and like 25 against New England this year. And again, you're trying to bracket this with your safety up top and then him running underneath. He just stems this thing to the post, gets the safety just for a half second to turn his hips, and then he works to this open space, and this ball's already out of Mahomes' hand. Right, this is just one of those things that you can't guard, and what happened, it's because the Chiefs have built this for years with the speed of their receivers, with how they've drafted. One thing that I haven't really hit on yet is Patrick Mahomes' depth and his drop, and this is something that, I really noticed in the Super Bowl on that play that I'll show in a couple of seconds, but his drop back, when they go out of the gun, he ends up dropping like 14 yards behind the line of scrimmage. This play right here, the jet chip wasp or whatever it was, essentially just a post corner out of our number 2 against cover 3, which, you know, I was kind of saying before, the Chiefs are going to be able to beat the Niners because the Niners, they can't hang with the Chiefs receivers, the speed of what they do. And no offense to Niners fans, it's just the way football is sometimes. But again, the thing that's so interesting to me with this Chiefs offense today is the depth at which Mahomes drops. And we look at this drop from Mahomes, he's at the 30 when he gets this ball, and then he ends up letting this thing go from at least the 20. I mean, just an insane. Okay, so it's at like the 23, but just an insane drop back on this. And again, you can get away with stuff like this because of how talented Patrick Mahomes is. Anyway, guys, that's my video on the evolution of the Chiefs offense. Took me a little bit to get the research done for this one, and again, this isn't a, you know, all-inclusive every single play from the Chiefs from 2013 on breakdown. Just the little things that I've picked up on here and there to really show you guys, even if you're not a Chiefs fan, who cares, just to learn something about football, about the evolution of this game, and really where it's gone from Andy Reid, you know, being the guy in Kansas City in 2013, and with a guy like Jamal Charles really trying to pound the rock, to where they are today with a very talented quarterback like Patrick Mahomes and all the special pieces that he has around him. Of course, we got to give a little shout out to the offensive linemen too, who have done a phenomenal job in protecting Patrick Mahomes, who definitely played a major part in winning that Super Bowl. So anyway, guys, with all that being said, I'm the Hook Cam. I hope you enjoyed this little film breakdown. If you did, if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, that would mean the world to me. That's all I got for you guys today. I'm sure I'll be back soon with some more film breakdowns, but until next time, guys, y'all have a good one, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.